What's the worst trade I've ever made? Let me tell you the story first, and then at the end we'll go over the charts. It was a dark and stormy night. No, it was early morning during the pre-market. That was when I made the worst trade ever. It was after a string of bad trades early on in my trading career. Bad meaning I was doing a lot of random things and not following my rules. The worst part of it all was that I was on a 13-day green streak. A big green streak like that is almost always a red flag. I learned early on that averaging down was a very dangerous habit to get into, and I avoided it for a long time. Then, probably in an attempt to try and avoid taking losses, which is an even worse thing to do than averaging down, I did just that, and I averaged down. Once I averaged down, the stock went lower, so I averaged down again. And again as it went even lower. This was all during the pre-market, and I remember telling myself that I'll just hold it until the open. If it hasn't bounced back, I'll sell it for a loss. Well, the open came and it didn't come back up, and I just held. At least I didn't continue to average down, but I did continue to break rule after rule. You see, once you start that ball rolling, it picks up momentum very quickly and it becomes very difficult to stop. Now, I said to myself, I'll just check the chart at the end of the day, and then I'll sell it if it hasn't bounced. The end of the day came, and I still held into the aftermarket, hoping for some kind of crazy pump or something. I was feeling pretty bad at this point. Not because of the loss, but because I had traded so poorly and I'd broken so many rules. I'd done everything I knew not to do. It wasn't about the money because I was trading with a very small account. It was about the principle of it. The aftermarket closed and I was still holding my shares. This happened on a Friday, so I had to stew about it all weekend, which was probably a good thing. At the time, I was doing strictly day trading, no swing trading, so I had already broken the cardinal rule of day trading, which of course is no holding overnight. I felt so bad about allowing myself to make so many poor choices that I committed to getting up at 4 a.m. on Monday to sell off the loss as soon as possible. Monday came around and I finally straightened myself out and I sold the shares for about a 9% loss on my account. Well worth it to try to get back on the right path. I never felt better about taking a loss. What a relief to unload those bags. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, only 9%. I've lost 30% or 90%, or I've blown up my account 6 times. Well, let me tell you that those are goals that I've never aspired to, and that's exactly where I was heading if I continued to trade like that. No thank you. Ever since that trade, no averaging down has been my number one rule. In fact, the system I day trade with today doesn't even allow for the thought to cross my mind. I now have so much data from past trades that I've proven that it's better for me to take my stop loss on my first entry and re-enter at a lower price on the next setup than to average down. In fact, in my current market open day trading plan, which only requires a 33% win rate to break even, my first trade it wins about 40% of the time. My second trade wins about 50% of the time, and my third trade wins about 65% of the time. So yeah, if I get into a loser on my first trade, I'm happy to take my stop, knowing that I'm increasing my odds of the subsequent trades working out. I also trade all or nothing 2R, which means my winners earn 2 times my risk. That also means that 1 winner wipes out 2 losers. So if I lose the first 2 trades, there's about a 2 out of 3 chance that my third trade will win, bringing me back to break even. Anytime you can get a trade with a 65% chance of winning, you'd better take it. All right, now let's take a look at the charts from that trade. So the ticker symbol was COGT. It was July 10th, 2020. I opened up this chart during the pre-market. I believe it was on the top gainers list, made a huge gain. I think I caught it after this move here. That's when I pulled it up on the chart. I'm thinking this was a really nice run, pull back, an even stronger run. Why not give me another run after this? That was happening all week for me. I remember that very distinctly. And I bought in on the first pullback somewhere around this level. It kept pulling back even lower, so I averaged down probably after this green candle, and then what happens? It continues lower. I probably averaged down one more time, and then that was it. I had no exit plan. I had no stop loss, and things just went downhill from there. So let's move on to the next chart. So that was the pre-market, and remember I said that I'll just hold it until the open. We'll see what happens. Here's the open. It does bounce, but remember my original entry was somewhere probably around 420, something like that. So pops at the open. It goes all the way up to 365, still well below my average, I'm sure. And then what happens a little bit later? This is the 5-minute chart. This is the entire day. It pulled back after that pop at the open, went all the way down to $3. I was probably down $1 per share, which is pretty huge, especially on a $4 stock. That's about 25% down on the stock itself. And then things just continued to rally that day and then never got above the all-time highs, pulled back and closed lower, basically at the low of the pre-market. So now I'm still holding my shares into the aftermarket, hoping for some kind of pop. And this is the aftermarket up until about this point. So it did pop up a little bit, but not very high. And then obviously the weekend came, and I was thinking about all the bad stuff that I'd done, and I knew that the only way out was to sell off first thing in the morning, Monday morning. So right here you can see this was the next day. I guess it was July 12th actually, because this looks like July 13th. And the next day it opened, popped up a little bit. I sold off all my shares as high a price as I could and just got rid of this terrible trade that I took. And as I said before, I was down 9%. Really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it just goes to show you how one bad mistake can turn into another and to another. And before you know it, you're holding a huge loser. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. Hopefully you enjoyed the story. If you did, hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought. As always, go into every single trade with a plan. Stick to that plan no matter what. Always take your stop losses, honor your profit target, and in the long run, you should be green. Take care.